Welcome to Miami Lead, a podcast dedicated to equipping leaders to face today's challenges with courage, faith, and innovation. This series is designed for anyone wanting to grow as a leader. Each episode offers insights, strategies, and inspiration from some of Miami's most influential minds. Our goal is to help you lead with purpose, build meaningful connections, and have a lasting impact on your community. We're glad you're here, because everybody wins when a leader gets better. And now, Pastor Bill White.
Thank you so much, Abe, for coming today. I'm in awe of you, the success that God has entrusted to you. Of course, I'm going to say God gave it to you, but that you have experienced in Sushi Maki. And I went through the website today. I'm thinking Kendall, Dadeland, Palmetto Bay, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, South Miami, Miami International Airport, Baptist Hospital, and those are only on this side of the Dade County line. The vision of Sushi Maki is to serve beyond, and you're in Broward and West Palm now?
In Palm Beach County, yeah.
Yeah.
God's been great, and it's really a delight to be here with friends, and I'm so impressed with the precision of the start time and getting people done at 1, and it's really terrific. I believe deeply in kind of shared learning, and happy to share, and hopefully there's some take-home value about what we're going to talk about
there
today.
will be. And part of what we're looking for are secrets that will help us level up our leadership for success, perhaps like you've experienced. So, what are your secrets? Tell us a secret to success.
So I'm happy just to tell you kind of our story, and it's a family business, and my parents are immigrants to this country. Dad came when he was 19 with, he didn't even graduate high school, from Hong Kong, came to New York, and mom and dad kind of wrote letters back and forth, and they were married eventually in 1969 in New York, and the Miami story comes in at that point where they honeymooned here in Miami Beach in November, and my sister was born later the next year in 70, and they said that they would come back, and in 1972 they were back. I was born in 73, Baptist Hospital, so I'm a native Miamian. Any other native Miamians here?
Yeah. How many born and raised in Miami? Let's represent.
So that's
Look
a
at
lot
that.
more than typically.
It is.
Miami's like Vegas. No one's really from here anymore, but it's great. And there's some native Miamians here.
I think I read that less than 1 in 10 residents in Dade County are born and raised here. Yeah. So, but what an amazing story.
Yeah. So it's a Miami story. There's a church connection. There was a small pastor at a Chinese mission, Flagler Baptist, that started a Chinese church, and that was what made mom and dad comfortable, that there would be a church home. And kind of 50 years later, I still go to that same church, Chinese Baptist in Miami.
And your father is still
my
living,
father,
active,
my father, chairman of the board. Some of you know him, 83 years old, still goes in to the restaurant 7 days a week. So it's an incredible story that keeping him going, and
One of the questions that I was just talking with Abe about prior was, was there a leader or a mentor or a role model that you look up to that just keeps inspiring you? And of course he said his dad.
Yeah, for sure. And it's cliche, but dad, and we don't have.
We don't all say that.
Yeah,
not everybody can say that.
It's not a perfect relationship. It's a father-son, first and second generation family business. So we've definitely had our moments where neither of us are proud of kind of what came out of our mouths. But he's my biggest cheerleader. I talk to him every day, and I know that's not forever. So I cherish that time, and it's really a wonderful. Family businesses can be absolutely wonderful and challenging at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
And many of us know about that. These are leaders from family businesses. A lot of small businesses make Miami what it is. And so when you talk about family business, well, talking about family is one thing, talking about business is another thing. And sometimes when those lines get crossed, it's strange, it's challenging.
Super.
And I'm thinking now that, you started as a family business, and now you've multiplied into several franchise operations. I don't know what you would call them.
Yeah, we're multi-unit, and we've got 25 locations now, Palm Beach County to Miami-Dade, mostly concentrated in Miami-Dade. We have about 350 team members or employees in our company. And yeah, we have, it's a family business. My sister, brother-in-law, my wife, Christina, I consider her a co-founder, as well as my father and sister of Sushi Maki. We're all involved. But, obviously, when you get a little bit bigger than that, you need to continue to grow and find leaders and invest in them, to do everything you can to inspire and retain them, because that's the only way that you can continue to scale.
I'd really like you to bring us into a little more of that. Because in the business community for some years now, people have been talking about new generations of employees that are now, rising up to become hireable.
That's right.
And so we talk about different generational labels. We're not big on labels around here. But if you you started as a family business and succeeded in family, and now you're expanding. How do you maintain a family feel, or what does family mean? And then you just mentioned bringing on new employees, new team members. How do you share family values as you bring them on, and then you want to hold on to them? You said that you want to keep them.
Yeah.
Well, that's very significant. I mean, we know when we find quality leadership that will serve God's people, we want to hold on to them here on our staff.
Absolutely.
So how do you do it?
It is so challenging these days because the workforce can be so fluid. But I'll give you like a story that during the pandemic, Sushi Maki really thrived at the restaurant level. And we had no turnover at the general manager level. So many times, if you can just keep the same team together for a little bit longer, that's really where the magic happens. Now, we have turnover at all levels, at the restaurant level, at the executive level. And the challenge is how do we inspire people to join the cause, at the same time is how do we kind of retain and how do we modernize our management style? So things like in-office, hybrid, summer schedule, these are things that we're wrestling with, and you kind of listen to how other companies are doing it, behemoths, how do small companies do it? And, for me, I'm 50, I come from a generation where, my first job, I never got to the office after my boss left, and I never got to the office. I made sure I was there whenever my boss was there. It could be a Friday at 6 o'clock, and I didn't leave until he left. That is so antiquated thinking, right? So when I'm interviewing now, the conversation about like what the policy is, and it's taken me some time to really think about if, for us to even be relevant and competitive, we have to think about giving people some of the flexibility. So, but at the same time, you want to create that culture and have people to be bought into the organization. So we're struggling with that, and I think in a good way, we are constantly talking to other leaders. How are they doing it? Where have maybe they have misstepped? And, and this can be all sorts of organization, non-for-profits, for-profit. We all go through the same challenges. Like, how do you inspire, people to do great work? And, doing great work does take time to be together.
Yeah. You mentioned the word culture. I want to back up to that because now what you're talking about really is not just what you do, which we've enjoyed it. Did you enjoy the meal today? Wasn't that delicious?
Yeah, thank you.
We were just saying at our table, one of our guests said, "Wow, this food is delicious." And I said, "Well, it's his." And that was unsolicited after he had enjoyed the meal. So
can be scary, trust
glad
me.
for that comment. But so we know what you do. But we also know that why you do what you do and how we do what we do matters a lot in marketplace, meaningful contribution, in meaningful business today. So would you take us into how do you guard the culture? What's the vision that you have, and how do you share those values so that others who come in will get the excellence of your product, but also the experience of what makes Sushi Maki successful?
So being able to articulate kind of core values and culture is a challenge, and I can tell you what doesn't work. Sushi Maki started in 2000, and around 2003 or 4, we needed to create values. So what did we do? We researched companies we admired, IKEA, Starbucks, and we just copied their values, and it went nowhere for 2 years. We did the T-shirts, the on the walls. It didn't go anywhere. So it wasn't until we then kind of identified 3 team members that really were spectacular, and we described them. And then we backed into words that really made a difference. So we have the core values: lead through service, commit to care, and we hire, we promote, we bonus people off of the 5 core values. And you got to keep saying it when you're having one-on-ones. Sometimes you got to wrap your language around it, because as you get bigger, you can't come up with rules. It has to be a values-driven company, and then the culture, how that permeates is storytelling, and people don't want to, be told. They want to hear about, where we've been, where we're today and where we're going, and stories. It could be a story about a restaurant opening. It could be a story about a team member that started as an hourly and now is an executive. And, you tell them how long it took to get to that point. And that's when it comes alive. And that's how we try to permeate the culture. You have to live it. People can smell when you're a phony. And you have to be present in their lives. You have to authentically care. It's hard. Everybody's tugged in a lot of different directions. What I'm terrible at is I'm on the phone all the time. My kids call me a screen-ager, and that's terrible in meetings. I'm the first one in meetings sometimes. When I get it, I'll pull out the phone, and it just kind of ruins the energy in the room. So I've tried to model a little bit better leadership, a little more caring leadership, and it's certainly a work in progress for sure. Yeah.
Well, I have experienced your candor, so I appreciate you just showing up and bringing us in. But is there one of those stories that just inspires you, a story that you love to tell?
So our company is probably 99% immigrants to the U.S. It's the hospitality industry, right? So you've got the Haitian dishwasher, you've got the Mexican line cook, you've got the second-generation Cuban-American cashier. And I think one story is when I go to meet people, I'll ask them, for their name, a little bit about their story, if they can fumble and bumble the way through English. And at the end of the day, I tell them that, I'm your child. I'm American born and raised, have a fancy kind of education. And my dad used to always say that, gosh, when you're born poor in another country, you're going to stay poor, most likely. In America, nothing is promised or guaranteed, but you have a shot, if you keep your nose clean and you work hard. And, as a kid, you kind of hear that, yada, yada, yada. But it wasn't until I started working with folks side by side that I think that helps us kind of connect a little bit better, and maybe that helps us retain folks just a touch longer. And, all things being equal, our job is to care for them. And when they care for our guests, that's when guests come again. So, our business is super simple. It's so simple, but it's so hard. Is how do you get people to care more? Because all of our team members can work, at Target, at Shake Shack for the same wage or maybe even more. So what makes them stick around to Sushi Maki a little bit longer? And it comes down to working for people, and it's, people work for people. They don't work for managers. And I find myself, doing this for 25 years, having the same conversation, but the person on the other side is a different person. Just like, how do we kind of say the same things a little bit differently, but just just remind people that we're in the people business.
Another thing that we had talked about earlier, in fact, I guess it was yesterday when we were both driving and on the phone, but carefully.
But safe.
And only audio, not visual.
Yeah. I love Pastor Bill. He's like a scrappy entrepreneur. You catch him. He thinks fast. He thinks fast. He talks fast.
But what he said was, our greatest lessons have come from our failures, your struggles. So I was trying to say, man, your business just went this way and that way, and it's going. And he said, that we've learned most from our struggles, from our failures. Would you share one of those with us? Maybe a lesson that came out of a hard place?
So Sushi Maki started out of a failure. I had another restaurant concept called Rapido that didn't work out. I learned a tough lesson about what it means to be personally guaranteed on a commercial lease. So that's the origin story, the genesis story of Sushi Maki. But even very recently, about a year ago, we closed a restaurant in Las Olas. Super embarrassing. We did like a grand opening, had the mayor cut the ribbon. We were only open about a year. I thought I was being cute, signed a lease during COVID in downtown Fort Lauderdale on Las Olas. Thought I got a good deal, but, and listen, at the end of the day, we did not perform. Sushi Maki did not generate enough sales to make it work, and, part of it was return to work. We thought people would come back. They didn't, we had maybe, it was a commercial business district, and I think people, these are forever changes as far as people's like in office and out of office. So we can dissect all the reasons why it didn't work, but, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. We learn from it, and that's part of kind of what you sign up for when you're an entrepreneur and you're a founder, the likelihood of it not working is super high, and we try to be a lot more thoughtful about our leases and our due diligence. But yeah, like we've opened up many restaurants, but the last one we opened did not work, and it was really a challenge financially, just because in the business world, at least in the small business, all it takes is one sick child to really cause so much energy to focus and trying to fix it. And and we're proud, we're competitive, we want to keep fighting, but it comes to a point where in the restaurant business, if you're thinking about closing a restaurant, you're probably too late already. You probably should have closed it before. It's one of those crazy businesses where it drains you when it doesn't work. When it works, it's fantastic, it's magical. We're excited about some new growth opportunities, but those losses really stick in your head, and you learn so much more. Like, we opened another one during COVID that worked, and I don't think much about that. I don't think I'm a positive person, but you just don't learn as much when things work.
Yeah, so maybe when failure comes, don't walk away from it, but stay in it and look around and see, okay, what can I take of value from this? What do I learn that?
Absolutely. The military, what do they call it? After action review. Yeah, you really try to think about kind of what you learn from it and grow from it.
I did hear somebody said, we're all going to fail, but the point is, let's fail as quickly as we can, learn what we get, and then, keep failing forward.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the thing about my father is a consummate entrepreneur, always thinking about trying the next thing, and he's never one to say no. So which is, I think, kind of in his DNA, and where we want to keep stretching.
Maybe this isn't a surprise or news to anybody today, but I have come to know you as a person of faith, Abe, and that you take your faith seriously. It's a personal thing to you. You seek to follow Jesus and apply his leadership lessons in your marketplace. Could you bring us into that? How does faith help you do that, to let go of some of these things and to hold on to some of those things? Or is there a way your faith informs your marketplace, or that you would like maybe to say to us?
Yeah, so I think, faith is everything. I wish I would be a more prayerful person and think about it, but what's really liberating and free is if we really believe that everything belongs to God, it's all his anyway. He gives, he takes away, so why fuss and stress over that? So when that's when you have that kind of as the absolute backstop, it frees you to make better decisions and not beat yourself up. I think how it also permeates is, you try to live a consistent life at home, who you are, what you say, how you say it, versus when you're in church, versus when you're with buddies. I try to be the same person, and it's funny, I have people from all different parts of my life here, and that I think is my testimony. It's my faith. We don't profess to be a Christian company. I'm a student of the industry. I love Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out, and what they're all about, and we emulate their excellence and their pursuit of it. But my
And
faith.
their leaders are
and-
people of faith as
Absolutely. So we try to learn from them, and like everything else, you get bits and pieces of inspiration from different types of organizations. How else, like what else is feeding me? What I listen to on podcasts. I listen to business podcasts, but one of my most important kind of thought leaders on business principles is Andy Stanley. He's a pastor, kind of his day job,
North
but
Point,
his
there in
so
Atlanta.
practical in what he kind of shares. I'm been convicted lately from another pastor, Pastor Francis Chan, about tithing and Sabbath. So so learning is super important. That authentic growth mindset is something that I think every leader needs to have if you want to keep yourself fresh and relevant.
Thank you so much, Abe, for being with us today.
Yeah.
I do have one question, and I hope you found some take-home, from the sushi today, that you'll be taking something home, not necessarily from the table, but from the platform, that you can put on the table where you serve and where you help others. But I have to know, what's your favorite menu item?
Okay.
Because then when I go into the next
gotcha.
sushi, I'm going to say, I'll have what
So,
Abe's having.
So my favorite sushi roll is the dragon roll, which we actually have today.
Okay.
It's the shrimp tempura roll with avocado and spicy mayonnaise. If I'm trying to eat a little bit cleaner, I'll also eat what we had today. That is like the teriyaki chicken and a green salad. I'm trying to eat a little cleaner, a little lighter. And the story kind of behind it is my daughter is an aspiring professional ballerina, and she is in this program in London this summer where not only did she have to apply with pictures and videos, she had to say the height and weight of her mom and dad. So I kind of fibbed a little and said I was...
There's a thought.
And said I was 200, and I'm actually closer to 215 pounds. So I got to drop about 10 pounds so that when I drop her off in London this summer, they don't say, "Oh my gosh!" Like, so that's the story for accountability.
Okay, dragon roll, sushi maki. Thank you, Abe.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Miami Lead. Colossians 3:23 says, "Do everything as for the Lord." No matter your position, God wants you to lead in a way that honors Him. If you enjoyed the conversation, remember to follow the channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss an episode. We release new content every Monday, bringing you fresh insights to help you grow as a leader. If you'd like to be a part of our live audience for future recordings, head over to miamilead.org to learn more and register. We'd love to see you there. Remember, everybody wins when a leader gets better.